How would you like to discover the latest AI marketing tools? Sebastian Chedal will tell us how to do it. And what's so special about Sebastian is that he has been shaping the intersection of technology and business for over 2 decades. And as the founder of Fountain City, he helps businesses transform with AI and marketing solutions tailored in real world challenges. Now, because I like this to be quite a practical episode, I want you to tell us, let's take a property investment business or any business that you have worked with that is easy for you to give us an example of how would someone leverage AI marketing tools and which specific tools can be used in order for someone to optimize their lead generation, their closing, or their systemization of business. Anything you want to tell us about.
AI Superwoman podcast with Lily Patrascu shares the world's most innovative AI tools and processes to go from technophobe to AI pro, attract leads, close sales, automate your business, enhance productivity, and deploy AI agents to do your work.
Sure, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. So I would say, in your example with a residential property management, I think that was the example you gave. So I would say the first thing that we would want to do is just understand their current ecosystem or their tech stack that they have. For the kinds of work that we do, we like to look at that to be able to recommend the correct tools to work with their ecosystem. Some businesses work a lot in Microsoft, others have Google infrastructure, or maybe neither of the two. So that's something to look at first. But I would say there's a difference between, if you're trying to look at the actual tools to use, there's a difference between prototyping and trying out ideas versus actually implementing full solutions for a business. If you're looking to do one-off solutions for yourself or to see how things could work, there, Zapier, Natin, Make.com, these are really good tools to try and prototype ideas because they can help you build agents or build automation workflows to address certain problems or opportunities or operational improvements you're trying to create in your organization. When we go a bit deeper and we're looking to do transformation, AI transformations for companies, we will first look at, are we trying to improve the top or bottom line of the business? And then based on where we're trying to make that improvement, we will look also at the processes that have been defined in the company. So if there are really well-defined processes, AI can go in and help fulfill those parts of the process. But if there's a process gap, maybe there's a lot of tribal knowledge or people don't have well-defined processes, or sometimes we work with large companies that still don't have a CRM system, then we would probably want to address first the processes, then come up with a solution for that, then come up with the needs, looking at data, and then finally apply the tools and the AI systems for that company. So usually there's some discovery that's needed to really implement something that's going to transform the business.
Okay, let's take an example of a business you have worked with and give me some examples of the kinds of AI tools that have been used to optimize any part of the marketing of the business.
Yeah, so for marketing specifically, so if it's for lead engagement or re-engagement and so forth, we've done simple automations where we're using, like I said, Natin or Make.com as great tools. And then those can leverage all kinds of connections with their CRM system. So it could be HubSpot or ActiveCampaign or Salesforce, whatever they're using. And then on the AI model side, really which model is used within the automation depends on the task. So it could be an OpenAI model. There's different levels there. Could be Claude from Anthropic model as well, or Gemini or Perplexity. So it just depends. We do some model selection for that. And then when we get to more involved builds, we might be using a different stack, like we might use LangChain if we're doing more from a developer standpoint, if we're really building something sophisticated.
Okay, let's take a practical example as well for something like a custom solution you have built for one of your businesses. Can you one of your businesses or one of the businesses that you have coached, can you tell us anything about the functionality of the custom AI app that you have built for any of the businesses, or anything like more specific so we can understand what exactly it was used for?
Sure. So AI, some example AI implementations include, so one part would be, for example, reading the inbox of the sales representative, and based on the replies that are coming in, you can trigger certain actions. So if the person's asking for more time to make a decision on the proposal, the AI can record that that person should be reconnected with whenever the time they gave. So if they said in a week, then the CRM can mark, let's talk with them again in a week, and it can give a thoughtful reply back to that customer. So those kinds of dispatching of intention and intent mapping and categorization. We've also used AI to help enrich a lead. So if a customer calls in from a certain company, we can have research be done to find out more about that person, or maybe about the business owner or the business. And we can populate data within the CRM there as well, so that there's more information that can include even just hobbies and interests, if those things are accessible or findable for that person. Other areas that can be done for sales. So there's re-engagement, there's lead enrichment. I think those are two pretty common kind of areas. Oh, a third would be, we've also done implementations where we have the AI within the loop of the advertising space for the pay-per-click ads, for example. So you can attach AI to the performance reports of the ads, and then have the AI give recommendations on how to modify the ads and landing pages. And then if you go the full cycle, you can have it then updating those ads and or landing pages as drafts for a human to then review the revisions and then make changes. And ultimately you would, once you build confidence, you can have it be hands-free as well. So there's anywhere where someone is doing something that's either process driven and the process can be documented, or it's algorithmic, it's something that's repeated and it has a certain flow chart that you can draw. Those are great candidates for AI, both of those two categories. So anything within your business that fits those two can be automated with AI.
Okay, so tell me how it would work to implement an AI marketing tool, such as the one where you mentioned. Let's say Pedro writes you an email and you want to have an AI to reply to that email like you mentioned. What would we use there?
Yeah. So the first thing that I would do is I would understand first, do we have processes well defined for this? And if we don't, the first step is really creating a flow chart of all the possible things that Pedro could say and what should happen based on the different things that he says to us. What should be the different types of responses we should do? Maybe he's asking for more time. Maybe he says wants to go ahead with the sale. Maybe he has questions. Maybe he wants to talk to a supervisor, right? There's all kinds. And so that all has to be mapped out. Once you've mapped that out, then you translate that flow chart over into a tool. And if we're talking about prototyping, like I already said, Nathan that's my current favorite for doing quick prototyping. So you can take that flow chart and you basically just replicate it in Nathan, as Nathan has these boxes with, it's like a programming, but with flow charts essentially. So you just make a box and you connect the lines. So you would just recreate that whole flow chart in Nathan as a series of flows. And then once that's done, then the next step is testing. So then you test through, and hopefully you can create 100 Pedro emails, either programmatically or from your past archives. So you can look through your inbox of all the emails you've gotten, and you would just dry test the system to make sure it's working correctly by having all those permutations go against that AI system, and make sure that you're getting responses that are correctly categorized and correctly replied to as close to 100% as possible, right? You'll find some issues, address them. And then once that's done, then you can connect it to your inbox and have it go in real time, and then just monitor the logs and make sure it's working correctly.
Thank you. In the second example that you gave, what AI tools would you do to implement it?
When you said the second example, are you talking about the lead enrichment?
Yes.
I think you're talking about lead enrichment. Yeah. So for that, so you can use third-party sources. So I believe our team has used Apollo, and there's There are a couple others I would have that I don't remember right now that can be used that are specifically for lead enrichment, and you can connect them with an API call. And so within Naten, you can take a lead record, push it through to this resource that is going to enrich the lead, and then store that information back into the CRM. You can do it all within Naten. You can also just integrate a Perplexity call within that chain. But then that works mainly if the person has some public record or public information about them, which a lot of people do, but also some people don't. So that depends on the type of lead enrichment you're doing. But I've had pretty good success with just using Perplexity as well. So you would create, if you're using Naten, you would create an HTTP request. It's like an API call to Perplexity, pass it the information that you have about the person, you get back the answer, and then you connect it to either a spreadsheet or some kind of Airtable database or your CRM system, a place where it can store that information back. And so then it would store the information in there. And, I know one business was spending about 5 hours a week just doing research on their leads before they would call them or write back to them. So a system like this can save, in that case, it can save like 5 hours a week of research to replace what you were doing manually about just doing research on your customers.
Thank you. How do you make sure that the information that the GPT prepares is correct? Because occasionally, for example, anything that uses ChatGPT, it has some errors. So how do you make sure it reduces the likelihood of, leading to errors?
Yeah. So I would say the first step is deciding what error rate is tolerable. So if you want to have, because it could be that when you're getting the research done, that you're already double checking everything yourself as part of your process. And so in that case, doing an extra layer of validation might not be as urgent in that case. But if you want to decrease the error rate, there are some techniques you can do. One of them is that you apply a second agent using a different model to the first within your automation chain, and you have the second agent redo the same work as the first, and then cross compare if there are differences between the two. So that's one method. Another is that if the first agent is pulling up links to sources, so you ask it to do citations, you can have a second AI agent in your chain whose job it is to just read those articles and to do a truth check on the first agent to make sure that when it was citing a statistic or a number or some piece of information from that resource, that it actually occurs and is correctly cited on that document. And if it's not, you can decide then how you want to handle that. You could have the first agent repeat its work one more time. You might limit the loop to only go maybe twice. If you're stuck in the loop, you don't want it to go forever. If it says you didn't do a good job and then it tries again, and it doesn't do a good job, it tries again. You don't want to have it do it too many times. And then, but you can also let it just run through, but record in your spreadsheet or your CRM or wherever it is you're storing the data, what the second AI's assessment was of the first, so the criticism or critique of it. And then when you're reviewing the research, you can review the research results plus the analysis of the research results with any discrepancies and use that as your basis for your research. But yeah, any system that needs to have a 0% or 99.5 Six Sigma accuracy with 99.999 and then lots of nines after is going to have validation steps that are applied on it. Because in the end, testing for AI systems is kind of like quantum mechanics. It's everything's probabilities. It's not just a 1 + 1 = 2 anymore in this world.
Thank you. So I have a personal question to ask you later, AI marketing tools. So for this podcast, and I have 6 podcasts total, I get a lot of referrals. Okay, so imagine that almost every person who comes on the podcast gives me 5 referrals, and they enter it into a form when they book. Okay, and at the moment, I have an actual person, who enters the data into a system that automatically kind of like emails the people that were referred, and and then they get an email saying, "Hi, Pedro, you were wonderful. You were referred by Sandro, and he said you were brilliant. So we'd like to invite you to this podcast," this kind of thing, right? Now, this task is currently done manually. Can you think of any AI marketing tool that could be leveraged so that my VA, my virtual assistant, doesn't have to manually do this?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think the tool I just mentioned with Nathan is very well suited to this task. I think the most important thing with any kind of automated system is really having good input data. So really understanding if you want the emails that go out to be as human as possible, we need to set the information up for the AI so that it knows your tone of voice, the questions that need to be asked, the goals that we want to achieve, and the answers. Again, just make a flow chart of what are the possible answers you could get back, and how do you want a human and or AI to respond, right? So it's just generating that whole, taking what is right now a process that might be done manually and really mapping it out into that flow chart. And then once you have that, then if you have a CRM, identify the CRM or where the data is stored, identify the training data for the AI so the AI knows how to respond, what questions has to ask, and so forth. And you just connect it all together in that N8N flow, the Nathan flow. There are other tools that you can use for that, but that, like I said, that's currently our number one choice. You could probably also do it with make.com, for example. Zapier is also good. My main quibbles with Zapier is that it's quicker to set up, but you have less flexibility because it's not as developer friendly to do tweaks, and it is more costly. So you pay for that convenience when you look at depends on how big of a scale of an operation you're having. But if it's just for a few quick messages, Zapier could also be a good medium for doing that agent.
Thank you.
But yeah,
Tell us,
go ahead.
tell us about AI marketing tools to help with Facebook paid ads. You mentioned already that some tools can be used. Tell us more about which tools can be used and what way to optimize paid Facebook or Google ads or YouTube ads.
Yeah. So, well, we are using, we're mainly building out solutions for companies, right? So we're not using just off the shelf tools or off the shelf systems. So to optimize, whether it's a Google ad or a Facebook ad, again, it's identifying the strategy that is going to be behind that. So that could be talking to if you have a marketing director or a marketing lead, we want to understand what are their principles that are behind their decisions. So what is what is our target cost per click? What is the value of a conversion? And what type of audience are we trying to attract? So we want to get, because just getting clicks, but if it's the wrong audience isn't going to help the business either. So we need to understand as much as possible as we can about these things, because the AI needs to understand it. And then once we have all of that information in place, then we need to understand what are the parameters that we want to be able to tweak. So on some campaigns, it might be the actual ad is the thing that we're looking to modify, and we can't change anything about the product description, product page. But then for a different project and application, maybe the actual website is something that we can change, or maybe we can do A/B tests on the website as well. So understanding what parameters can then be modified, and then understanding which parts of it we want to connect to the AI is kind of the next step. And then once we have all of that ecosystem figured out, then again, we might do some flow charting of decisions. So if the conversion rate's too low, these are the things we want to execute. If maybe people are clicking on the ad, but they're not buying. And so then we want to look at what we want to optimize and change on the landing page. And we can use AI to also so there's different parts of AI. There's AI that does execution of modifications. So very linear kind of operation, but there can also be a strategic layer in the AI too. So there could be an analysis that's performed on a schedule where you give all of the data to the AI, and all the AI does is give a recommendation based on the data it's seeing. So that recommendation could be based on the traffic and the conversions, the type of responses. Also, you could connect it also to the contact form, and it can read the emails that people are sending. Maybe the AI could recommend that the product should be split into 2 pages, and you should split your ads into 2, and you might want to then start optimizing a second landing page for people who have a different kind of a question, different kind of a need, so you can speak better to those persons' reservations that they might have for trust development, or just language alignment with the kind of search terms that they're using. So that kind of an application can can be a lot more sophisticated, or probably is a lot more sophisticated than just doing a lead enrichment or a conversation engagement. If you're really going to be connecting it all together into your entire business and doing more than just optimization of numbers, or numbers meaning like how much do I want to pay for my clicks? But you actually
Thank
want
you.
to optimize the work.
So what do we use exactly for doing that? Is it a custom GPT or what?
So a custom GPT. So if we're talking about, I believe you're talking about OpenAI ChatGPT with a custom GPT. So those are, when we're doing automations, we're connecting with the AI using API calls. So all of the training that you would do to create a custom GPT is something that we're doing within the automation itself. So you're able to create, they're called in the automation system prompts, as instead of calling them, I think they're called instructions in a custom GPT. So it's the same kind of approach, but you're doing it within the automation. And so that is where we would be putting in training information related to that agent's actual knowledge that it needs to have in order to make the correct decisions. You can extend it even further if there's documents that you want to also be referencing, like maybe you have for your business, you might want to load in your business objectives, your sales goals, your customer information, which can include things like what are the benefits that your product and services has. So you can take all that information and load it into that AI as part of its training data. And all of that you would still do within the Natin configuration or the make.com setup as part of the reference documentation for that AI in that step. So yes, you are using trained GPTs, but you're using it within the automation system itself.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
Yes, for sure. So I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, Sebastian Chedal. You can also find our company, fountaincity.tech online.
Thank you.
Follow me for more AI productivity tools.